Hi, this is Chef Kevin, and I just made this wonderful Pate En Croute. Pate En Croute is a pate that is in crust, en croute. This is a very traditional French recipe. It has chicken livers, chicken breast, pork, mushrooms, a whole bunch of spices, and a lot of labor. And if you'd like to see how I made it, all you have to do is watch. Okay, before we get too deep into the Pate En Croute, I'd just like to go over the terrine that I'll be using. This is the terrine that I will be using tonight. It's not really a terrine actually, it's more of a bread pan. It's rectangular, as you can see. It's about 11 inches long, 3.5 inches high, and 4 inches wide at the top. And I choose this one because I want it to be large and I want to show off the crust. This is also a pate terrine, but this is too small. The bread would take up so much space in this terrine that you wouldn't have much pate in the center of it, so I'm going for this one here. Alright, let's get into the meat prep. Okay, this is called the force meat, and what I have here is some diced chicken breast in about 1/2 inch cubes, and you want to make sure that you removed any gristle from that. And the weight on that's 15 ounces, so it's slightly less than 1 pound of diced chicken breast. I have 2 pounds of diced pork. This is picnic cut, Boston butt, whatever you want to call it. And what I did is I cut it into 1/2 inch pieces or so. And you want to make sure that you remove the silver lining, because that's very tough and inedible. I also have 8 ounces of salt pork, or pork belly, same difference. And that'll add some fat to it, because this is actually a pretty lean cut, and the chicken breast, of course, is always lean. So what I'm going to do is put them into this mixing bowl. The fat back I just cut into strips, as you can see. Okay, I have some sea salt here. And that was a good 3 tablespoons of sea salt. And black pepper. Good good tablespoons of black pepper. I have some brandy here. Quarter cup of brandy. And I also have some port wine here. Gonna go with 1/2 cup of port wine. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just mix it up and put it in the fridge overnight, and this way it'll marinate overnight, and all the flavors will come together. Next thing I'm going to do is the pork. Okay, I have 8 ounces of chicken livers here. If you can get duck liver, that's probably even better, but it's pretty difficult to buy duck liver. And all I did is I cut them in half and then cut off any connecting white tissue. Now what I'm going to do to the livers is going to put them in salt. This is canning and pickling salt. And what this does is it'll keep down any bacteria. That was a good tablespoon and a half perhaps. And this is going to go in the fridge overnight as well. Okay, so the meat has been marinating for 24 hours or so. And at one point I remixed it to make sure that it was marinating properly. And then I added some spices to it. So it had the salt and pepper in there, and then I ordered some, I added some oregano, thyme, basil, cloves, and nutmeg. And the reason I added them then is because I forgot to do it before. So at least it's in. And now we're going to do the dough. There's a lot of ingredients here. I have 8 ounces of milk. I have 1 pound of flour, regular all-purpose flour. I have ½ ounce of salt. I have 1 tablespoon of sugar. 2 tablespoons of baking powder. And 4 ounces of cold butter that's been cubed. I also have an egg. And I have 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar. So the first thing I'm going to do is to mix all the dry ingredients. That's the flour, sugar, salt, baking powder, going to go ahead and mix them in. I'm going to go ahead and add the the butter. I'm not going to put all the butter in at one time. I'm going to do it one piece at a time. And that was 4 ounces of butter, or 1 stick. What I want to do is get a nice crumbly mix here. Okay, that only took about 2 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and add the liquid ingredients. That was the cider vinegar, milk, egg, those are just take a couple of minutes. Okay, so here's my dough. Came out nice, it's not sticky. Just gonna knead it a little bit and then form it into a shape. Okay, I'm going to wrap this in plastic wrap and fridge it from 1 hour to 24 hours. So I have my dough flattened out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. I'm going to cut out a piece that's basically 20 inches by 10. And this will cover the entire terrine. Definitely don't want to come up short on this. Okay, that's my basic piece. Now I'm going to line the terrine. Okay, here's my terrine. And as I explained earlier, this is actually a bread pan, but this will make an excellent terrine for a pate en croute. This is Baker's Joy mold release. This way it comes out a little bit easier. Okay, here's my dough. Now what I want to do is fit it into the pan without tearing it. Press it into the corners. I want to have a little overhang on the top. Okay, I actually had to take the dough out and stretch it out a little bit more because it wasn't overhanging. You want it to have some overhang, like about a ½ inch or so. And what I'm doing is I have a little piece of dough here, and I'm using that to press it into the corners. If you were to use your fingers, I'll pretty much guarantee that you're going to tear it. Okay, it's nice and flat against the container. Cut off the excess. Still leaving a little dough hanging over the side, which is what I want. I'm going to trim that off later. Okay, we looking good here. Next thing is putting the force meat into the pan, but there's several other steps that I have to do before that. Now I'm going to cook my mushrooms. About a ½ tablespoon of butter, oil, that was about a dozen baby bella mushrooms. A little sea salt. Little pepper, a few sprigs of fresh thyme, bay leaf, a little lemon juice, and a little splash of water. I'm going to let these steam up for a couple of minutes, and those will be ready to go. About a ½ tablespoon of butter, same amount of oil. I have minced shallot, 1 minced shallot, and about half of a medium-sized onion. So in total it's about ½ a cup, finely chopped. Gonna add a little salt to that. I'm going to cook this for about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. I want to get some nice color, nice caramelization going here. And this is going to be added to the force meat. Okay, I have some nice color on my shallots, onion mix. I'm going to reserve this and then cook the chicken livers. Have a hot pan here, a little vegetable oil. I'm going to cook the chicken livers on high heat for just about a minute or so. Chicken livers are done. I'll set these aside. So here we have Chef Kevin's Pate En Croute. Let's take a look inside. Take off these chimneys. It's a little stuck. I'm going to take a rag that has some hot water on it and just put it on the outside. I have 3 eggs here. What I'm going to do is beat these. This is going to be the binder. Little sea salt in that. Also have some fresh thyme. It's about a half cup of parsley. And that'll be added to the force meat. We're almost ready to pack the terrine. Okay, this is the force meat. This has been setting for almost 48 hours. Going to add the binder. Going to add the shallots onion mix. This is the best way to do it. My terrine. And try to pack that down as well as you can. Now I'm going to add the mushrooms, a few at a time. And the livers, a few at a time. More meat. A few mushrooms. livers. More mushrooms. More livers. Try to pack that in. A little more meat. It's the end of the mushrooms. Put the livers in there. And the rest of the meat. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands and go to the next step. Okay, I'm going to egg wash the dough. Now I'm going to cap it. Got to cut the dough right underneath the pan. This is just decoration at this point. Okay, this is going into the refrigerator for about an hour. Okay, so it's been in the fridge for an hour. Now what I'm going to do is put the vents inside. And what this does is it allows the steam to escape. And at this time you can decorate it as you'd like, using the leftover pastry. Put a little more egg wash on that. have my oven heating up to 350 degrees. This will take about an hour and a half, and I want to get the internal temperature at about 165 degrees, so I'll be checking it periodically. So there you go, that's a star there. Another star. You can get very artistic with this if you'd like. Okay, I'm going to finish this off and put it in the oven. So it's been an hour and a half at 350 degrees. I just took it out of the oven. The top is nicely cooked, and I'm going to let this cool down and then put it in the refrigerator, and then I'm going to be adding an aspic to the croute through the chimneys. That's going to be a masala aspic. Okay, the final step is pouring the warm aspic into the pate. And this is a basic aspic where it's gelatin and masala wine. It's approximately 130 degrees. And what this does is it fills the void on the top of the Pate En Croute. And it tastes nice. And now I'll return this to the refrigerator, and we'll cut into it tomorrow. Okay, so that seems to have done the trick. And there we have the perfect Pate En Croute. You can see the mushrooms, the livers, the pork, the aspic, very pleased with this, and I'm actually going to take this to a party later on today, and that's when we'll do the taste test.